It's Brennan from Tech Buzz Ireland. Today we have the Mercury A3000 whole mesh Wi-Fi system, the Halo H80X. I suppose the first thing you know straight away is the 3-year warranty, which is always good, but we'll come back to that in a few moments. And actually, what does it actually do? And I suppose fills your home with a fast mesh Wi-Fi there. Seamless connection coverage. This is square footage. 3000 megabits per second dual Wi-Fi. Now this is actually quite interesting because fastest most people I actually know with the best fiber, you're only going to get 1 gig. This can actually transmit 3 gig. Bearing in mind, you can only transmit what you've got. So if you're only getting 100 meg coming into your house, ignore this. It won't do any faster. It can only transfer the speed that you're coming into the house, so it won't speed up your details. But if you've got an extended range of a house, for example, where there's no coverage, certainly it will work. Seamless beaming over Wi-Fi, connect over 150 devices, quite interesting. So for domestic, you wouldn't really worry too much, but in an office environment you might have a lot of people coming in. 3 gigabyte WAN ports and easy app to control. Contents. What's in the box comes with 2 Halo units, RJ cables and power adapts quick sale. Interesting over here, actually you can see the TP link on it, and obviously once you see TP links again, a lot of other bits of language, so I'm not too particularly bothered on that. This is where it's telling you the 3 gig Wi-Fi, seamless roam with one Wi-Fi name. So in essence you can connect it up between 2 different devices, those 2 devices, and you can walk from one to the other, and you'll just transfer over 150 as an app and expand, and this is the coverage you can actually get. And same thing at the moment, it's just telling you where you can actually put it and the different IDs where it can connect itself, and a lot of other information there. So in other words, the box gives you most of the information. I do actually like the 3-year warranty, and when I see the TP link associated with it, it gives me a bit more credibility, etc. And what do you actually get? The usual bits of paperwork here at the moment, not very relevant. And we also get quick start guide. And when I say quick start guide, whole world, this is the quick starting 1 page. So all it's really telling you is download the app and you connect it. Disappointing, all the rest of it's in a different language. There is no wiring diagram this comes with. So you might say, oh, quick look, how do you actually connect it? It's not complicated, but when you don't have that information, it's saying. It also comes with what I would call your transmitter and your receiver, and you get 2 of these particular ones here. So you get 2 of these connected, and there's the Mercury there. From looking at it, there's no easy way to tell which is which. So if there's an A and a B, so I just actually put a label on the back, and obviously you get a normal plug that just plugs into the back. Not sure who actually designed this kit itself, but again, coming with a black plug and a white thing there, just aesthetically doesn't look very well. I prefer to have all white or all black. Having the 2 of these in the same thing just looks, for me, is completely out of place. Certainly minor detail, doesn't affect the use of it, but personally I'm not crazy on the idea of that. And in the unit itself, the light can come on, and you've got 3 gigabit ports here at the moment. So in other words, when you've got this one here plugged in, you can plug this one in, I'm just going to say upstairs, and you can plug in a laptop, you can play games console, for example, or something else directly to these particular 3 ports itself. And that's kind of what it gets, what you're actually getting in the background. Connecting it wise, what you're really doing is putting one particular port directly into your router, so your standard router as supplied by your internet provider. Plugging this one in, possibly example upstairs, and this will transmit the signal from here up to here and expand your wireless. People might say, well, sure, most service providers say we have an amazing router, it'll cover your whole house, and it's accepted on that. In essence, the marketing people of the service providers give you a lot of dubious information because they're going to market it, say it's great, but in reality is most of them are bog standard, boring. They don't give you any extension, and I've upgraded myself in the past to this super expansion Wi-Fi, and there's no difference in signal strength or quality. So this is a specialized kit, especially for where you've got poor coverage in a particular area. You can actually work with that, and what really you're doing is you're plugging this directly in. There's a couple of different ways of connecting it. I plug the power in, connect that Wi-Fi directly to it, and that just basically expands the range. You do have to configure it itself in the background to actually make it work. What I mean by that, you have to set it up itself. configured like a new network. So you put in the network name, and you set up password, etc. Within the app itself, it gives you more options, but we'll come to that in just a moment. When you've downloaded the app, QR code is directly from the manual, and you download the Mercury app itself, and it comes up with this. It tells you what's actually connected on the unit itself. Connection, this one's actually been just after being plugged in, so you can see the red light just flashing. This particular one has already been plugged in before, so it's still working. So this is just telling me it's trying to get itself set up in the background. This is your basic app here at the moment. It's the overview, and it gives it. But when you go into the settings itself, well, let's move that out of the way. You get the different options here, and this is a bit more specialized options. So you got your Wi-Fi. Tells me it's 2.4 and 2.5 gig. So I can actually decide to actually have it only on one. You'll see some products that will only work on 2. Some smart home equipment will only work on 2.4, but actually in reality it's well to keep it going there. You can also have a guest network, so I can have a guest network so friends come, they're not killing my network, and I can actually set it directly for them. One thing I do like is the network optimization. So while that's doing there, I did a speed test of my original router and this connected in the same room. In theory, I would have expected them both to be identical. It's telling me to be optimized, just optimize that. I expect both of them thing, but in reality, it's when I connect them, this actually worked faster, simply because it was optimized. So a lot of routers will be the same frequency, the same range. This is actually picking the best frequency that's available to actually use. So if everybody's congestion using the same frequency, it's going to jam the network. This is actually specifically picking a network that's the best for me. I just went out of it there for a moment. Got it. And that's what that's done. So it's actually picked the best network, the most uncongested. If you were in an apartment block, for example, with loads of networks going around, this would be really, really relevant. But even when you're out in a home, for example, or an office, picking that up there. Just go through this. Blacklist allows you to actually blacklist a specific device. If you had a guest that was there you didn't particularly want, you could put the details onto it. Update Halo is just your average update, and this will come with just standard enough update. Advanced has lots of different forms, so those of the real techies can go really into those details, and you can go port forwarding. One of my favorites, this part, is actually the LED control. The LED control, if you have it in a bedroom, there's nothing as bad as the night, that particular light being annoying. So what I can do is, I've set this night mode on, so from 8 PM to 8 AM, this light will actually go out. Still know it'll work as normal, but it's just that little thing that's just annoying to having a light in a place that you don't actually want. And again, there's loads of other functions out in here. And we'll get down to parental controls. Parental controls is actually quite good. So people always think of parental controls with children, for example. We'll just call it. We'll just. So people always think of parental controls for children, but actually you can have it as a child, preteen, and teen. When you click on preteen, for example, it tells you the age of the child it's actually blocking it for. We'll just stick with the child there at the moment. So as it stands, the child, adult content is blocked, online communication, download, pay, something. If, for example, you were to go to an adult and you decided, for example, this is an office, use this as an office, you use the same parental controls, so you can actually block adult content. And you can also go onto specific websites. So most people on a company will actually be very much aware of the specific sites that you can't go on to. Example, it could be a gambling website that's not allowed. For example, you may have a policy within work to say you're not allowed to go on Facebook, for example. This can also be done from that point of view. So that gives you some of the options within there. So even though it says parental controls, you can actually use it for other details. Only things there at the moment, it just tells you what connection, so you can actually see what devices were actually connected and when you were actually connected with the devices there at the moment, and what scans in the optimization there. And that's kind of an overview of what the app actually does itself. There is the equivalent on the website. You can go directly onto the unit itself, but in reality is you're not going to use it because it's just functionality to read. So typically for your normal router, you go example 192.168.1.108. In this situation, there is a name that you can go directly onto it, written on the back of your here, but it has no functionality, so it's partially slightly a waste of time to actually do that particular version. And I suppose the big question people have said, does it work? Does it work? And I'll give you an example of details. So what I've actually done here is an Excel sheet of a connection. I set up the normal router as I would normally have done, set it up there and did a speed test using a well-known speed test site at the moment. Did a speed test from example the sitting room, and that's in the same room where this particular router is. And I actually checked it, got a 270 meg on that, upload speed was 51 and a latency of 13 milliseconds. Now that was what I actually got in the room itself when I'm standing right beside it. Did the same thing connected to my new network, which is the Mercury systems there, the Mercury H80X, and I got 360. Upload speed of 51 and a latency of 14. Now my first reaction was, I'm in the same room, why is one doing better? After doing these 3 times and doing them over a few days, I realized because I optimized my network, the 360 was the difference between the two of these coming through, and that's why I got a far better speed. Tried in the kitchen, another room in the house, 270, upload speed very similar, and the latency a little more of delay. This is what got interesting. Downstairs utility room, I've never had coverage in there unless I use a wireless extender. No coverage, nor there. Got 11 megabits there, so it did actually work. 14 was the upload. Interesting, the upload was actually faster than there, and the latency was 16. And again, the upload speed on the upstairs bedroom. Now the upstairs bedroom is actually directly above the router, which I would have expected to be equivalent, but it's actually slightly higher because the signal is going straight up from my current router. And again, with the Mercury, it's 420 and 48 was the upload, and there. Furthest bedroom from the house. So within another bedroom there, which is the furthest, I was down to 12 megabits, 4.1 upstairs. So in other words, if I was trying to have a Zoom call, for example, from upstairs, it would have been a real challenge. The latency went up to 32, so I would not be inclined to be playing gaming from that particular part. The difference here is the 190 versus the 12 megabits. 470 and the latency is half of the details. So that is huge. The ensuite room, 54 versus 170, and again it's the furthest part of the house there at the moment, so you're talking about 46 to 51 the upload, so the 51. So within this quick test here at the moment is you can very clearly see big difference. Number one, those two are not connected, and the furthest room there in the same room, a little bit of improvement. Now that's down to the optimization of the unit, no other reason I would say on that. This test was done over 3 times for each particular one, and within the network I just changed my Wi-Fi connection on the bottom right hand corner. I just swapped from this particular network directly to the tech buzz and connected, and that's what way I did it in the corner, just connected over, and these were seamlessly changed over from one to the other. And this is just as a test to get an idea what was the speed. So when people say, does it actually work? Very clearly, no coverage, none there. The furthest place where I had no particular coverage there at the moment, 12 versus 190 meg. That's just straight away. Now it has the bonus of you've got 2 of these particular units being transferred the signal from the first one up to the second one coming through. That is a big difference, etc., to make it kind of going. In essence, what are you actually getting? So all it's doing is getting the signal pumped directly from from there transferred to here. One other test I actually did was I walked as far as I could on my original network outside front garden, wait till I got coverage stopped. I subsequently did the same thing again, walked out to the front, far further with this particular mesh system. But when I walked back into the house, walked the whole way through out to the back garden, again, it seamlessly transferred from one, so I didn't have to do, both of these are on the same network, so it just simultaneously, I didn't do anything, it just transferred straight over from this to this without any drop in signal, without any details. And that. So that was a quick idea. So it does actually work. If you got poor coverage, you can get another one of these coming through so you can expand it more. If, for example, it's in an office environment, it'll actually work. As far as the networks, the diagrams are concerned, paperwork is extremely poor, but there isn't really any much skill that you need from a technical. I would have liked to see. I got confused which was a transmitter and which was a receiver. I subsequently found out you can use either one there at the moment. I'm not crazy on the color of the plugs, minor detail. Technically, I've been using it for about 2 weeks without any issues. One thing to be aware is if you plug this particular unit out for any reason, etc., you will still see the network, but it obviously will not work. So you might expect to say, oh, you'll have no coverage. So if for any reason anybody plugs this plug out, etc., cable got disconnected, you'll still see the network on this particular one there, but you won't get any details coming through. Again, 3-year warranty is excellent. The range is good. 3 gig is what it's talking about here at the moment. Connection speed, you're obviously no broadband provided I'm aware of is pumping that down at the moment for your general public, for example. Coverage is quite good. There is another option to get an additional box to even get better. Setup is relatively okay, bit confusing on things. It's got lots of different specifications in here, and that's the Mercusys AX3000 whole wire message, the Halo 80 H80X. Thank you for watching. Tech Buzz Ireland.